Okay, you're right. Welcome to your video tutorial on looking with equations with pronumerals on both sides. Okay, today we're going to have a look at equations, but this time we're going to have a look if I have an unknown on both sides of my scale. Okay, while equations with pronumerals on both sides may look a bit tricky, they're actually really quite easy to solve. The first thing we need to do is get the pronumeral on one side of the equation. Okay, I'm going to show you that this isn't actually too difficult. We use the same principles of doing the opposite, okay, in order to remove a pronumeral on one side, okay? So remember when we had things like x plus 2. In order to get rid of that plus 2, I do the opposite. I subtract 2. Or when I've got a multiplication, something multiplied by my pronumeral, in order to get rid of it, I do the opposite and I divide it. So we're going to look at the way in which I can get pronumerals on one side using that same idea. So let's have a look at some examples. This first example here, now this should technically say find P or solve for P or something, but I've just written the equation because I'm a bit silly and I forgot. So 4P plus 2, I'm going to rewrite it for you guys, equals P plus 11. Now, first off, you'll notice the difference with this equation compared to ones that I've seen so far these last few weeks. I've got a P on that side and I've got 4P on this side of my equation. So my first issue is that I've got an unknown on either side. The very first thing I need to do, like the slide before just told me, was to get my pronumeral on the one side. Now, I'm going to put them on the left-hand side, I think, okay? So it says 4P plus 2 equals P plus 11. This P here, if I want to remove this P from this side, okay, I must do the opposite. This P here is a positive number. I know it's a positive number because it doesn't have a negative in front of it. So in order to get rid of it on this side, if it's a positive, I must subtract P from this side. If I subtract anything from this side, what I do to one side, I do the same to the other. So I need to subtract P from that side. So it becomes 3P plus 2 equals 11. Now this equation looks like something I've seen before. 3P plus 2 equals 11. So in order to get rid of the things, in order to find my pronumeral, I have to take the things furthest away. 3P plus 2 equals 11, so I subtract 2 from this side, and I subtract 2 from that side, and I come up with an answer of 3P equaling 9. If 3P equals 9, what does 1P equal? What's going on here is multiplication. So to get rid of it, I must divide. Okay, I'm dividing 3P by 3 in order to find 1P. What I do to one side, I do the same to the other. So my answer becomes P equals 9 divided by 3 is 3. Let's look at this example here. It says P plus 5 equals 21 minus 3P. P plus 5 equals 21 minus 3P. Okay. This time, it doesn't really matter, but I think I might move this 3P over to the other side, okay? Now, it says negative 3P. P plus 5 equals 21 minus 3P. So if I want to remove that negative 3P from this side, if it's a negative, I must add 3P to this side. If I've added 3P to this side, I must do the same to my other side. So P plus 3P becomes 4P plus 5 equals 21. Now this looks like something I've seen before. 4P plus 5 equals 21, which means the 5 is the furthest thing away from the P. So in order to solve for P or find out the answer, I must first start by taking the things furthest away. So I'm going to subtract the 5 from this side because it says plus 5. If I want to remove it, I have to do the opposite. And I'm going to subtract 5 for this side. So that comes up with 4P equaling 16. If 4P equals 16, that multiplication can only be undone by doing the opposite, division. So I divide this side by 4 and I divide that side by 4 in order to find out what 1P equals. So 16 divided by 4 becomes 4. This final one is going to actually go into negative numbers, and this should be something you guys get used to. So 6m, I'm just giving you a heads up, plus 10 equals 4m plus 2. Okay, I'm going to get rid of the 4m on this side, okay? So I'm going to subtract 4m from that side. I'm subtracting 4m because 4m's a positive. If I want to get rid of it, I have to do the opposite, okay? If I subtract 4m from that side, what I do to one side, I have to do the same to the other. So I'm going to subtract 4m from this side. 6m subtract 4m becomes 2m plus 10 equals 2. It's a positive 2, so I didn't bother writing the plus there. Now, 2m plus 10 equals 2. That's saying 2 multiplied by m plus 10 equals 2. The thing furthest away from my unknown, or my m in this case, is the 10. It's a plus 10. So if I want to get rid of the 10 from this equation, I have to subtract 10 from this side. If I do something to the left, I must also do it to the right. So 2m equals 2 subtract 10. If it's 2 degrees and it gets 10 degrees cooler, it becomes negative 8. 2 multiplied by m is negative 8, which means that if I want to find out what m is by itself, I must do the opposite operation and divide this side by 2. If I divide the left-hand side by 2, I must also divide the right-hand side by 2. So m equals negative 8 divided by 2. Well, 8 divided by 2 is 4, and if I've got a negative and a positive, my answer is going to be a negative. So my answer comes to negative 4. And that's it, guys. That is solving equations with pronumerals on both sides.